The new coronavirus is spreading all over the world. In China, the first country to have an outbreak, has begun to help other countries since the epidemic was basically under control. China has experience and resources are now available. They are willing to share with other countries the masks and protective clothing more than they need, especially in some countries where medical resources are relatively scarce. When Britain, France, Germany, and the United States are all in trouble themselves, they have no choice but to turn to China for help. International observers say China was originally the epicenter, so it was discriminated against by the world. Now it's trying to help the world with its experience, especially those hardest hit areas with epidemic prevention, hoping to wash away the stigma. Well, let's start with this country. This is why such a country seeks China's help. Its name is Serbia. Serbia has always hoped to join the EU. It has also applied. It's also in the process of applying, but it is still a non-EU country. In the course of the spread of the epidemic in Europe, no one is willing to help them. The president says a state of emergency has been declared throughout Serbia, but the EU has announced restrictions on all medical exports to non-EU countries. In fact, Serbia is not so strong economically. It has not so many medical resources. All medical materials need to be imported. Now the European Union says, let's unite in the EU. We should not sell medical supplies to non-EU countries. Miserable. In his speech to the people of Serbia, the president says directly, the so-called European unity is nothing but nonsense. He says that they have to turn to China for help. China has a lot of experience in clinical treatment, and they have control measures and know how to do isolation, how to arrange people after isolation, and know how to maintain the transportation of necessities for the people who are isolated at home. As for the technology of treatment, there is no direct prescription. So how to do maintenance therapy? Serbia says they really can't do it. So they turn to China for experience. And you can't buy masks from the EU. They won't sell masks to you. A couple of days ago we saw Germany, the EU country, even buckled the Swiss masks. They rob each other. So he has to buy masks from China, which is willing to sell masks to him. And he has bought 5 million masks. And China has sent a medical team to Serbia to teach the technology of epidemic prevention. In the process of the epidemic expansion, when China's epidemic was under control, it began to help the countries that were severely affected.
To address this crisis, I placed the entire country under a state of public health emergency.
We declare a state of national emergency. The new coronavirus epidemic is reaching all over the world. Many countries have declared a state of national emergency. Meanwhile, they also seek support from outside. But the target of seeking assistance is not the Western powers but China. We have made a comprehensive appeal to China for help. We have even asked them for the dispatch of medical personnel. Our medical personnel are exhausted. We need to ban virus from entering hospitals, which is why the military will be deployed in hospitals with cases. Not only did Serbia buy 5 million masks from China, but Beijing also sent a medical team to provide local support. China's efforts to help even made President Vučić of Serbia feel deeply touched. You will find that the so-called grand international unity does not exist, and the European unity does not exist at all. Those are just on paper. Today, I sent a special letter because we highly expect that only one country is willing to help us in difficult times, that is China. Serbia, which was expected to join the European Union this year, was blocked by the EU because of the outbreak. Medical resources are forbidden to be exported to non-EU countries. Even within the EU, there were disputes over the import and export of medical supplies. The European chaos has become the new epicenter of the global pandemic.
Europe has now become the epicenter of the pandemic, with more reported cases and deaths than the rest of the world combined, apart from China.
In Italy, more than 1,000 cases were diagnosed in early March. In less than half a month, the number of cases was more than 10 times higher. The government quickly ordered the entire territory to be blocked. The people robbed materials, and the police and the people opposed each other frequently, just like repeating China's experience. China will step up efforts to export urgently needed materials and equipment to Italy. If necessary, China is willing to send a medical team to Italy to help fight the epidemic. Not only Italy but Spain, Europe's second disaster victim, saw a surge of more than 2,000 cases a day. The government also declared the whole territory on alert to be blocked for half a month, and a huge number of military police was stationed on the streets. If you hang out on the street, you may possibly get a huge fine.
I'm so sad because I've lived 59 years and I've never seen this happen.
Not only are the ordinary citizens sad, but the Madrid government is also suffering. Spain Foreign Minister González has called Chinese Foreign Minister Wang Yi to express that Spain is currently facing a shortage of materials and hopes that China will provide material support. But in addition to Europe, many Asian countries also hope that China can help.
China has donated 2,000 fast test kits to the Philippines. The Chinese embassy there says the kits can produce results in 3 hours, and more kits are on the way.
Countries including the Philippines, Iran, Iraq, and even South Korea has successively sent out distress signals to China. Apart from expecting China to send more medical teams and materials to their own country, they are also eager to learn from China's rich experience in fighting the epidemic.
The Guardian of the UK says a turning point appeared when the number of deaths and infections in the world exceeded that in China. A French think tank says that under such a general trend, China seems to be the only one that can help these vulnerable countries. China's attitude is to extend a warm hand. In this difficult time, who is on earth good to you, who disregards you, who believe that each country has its own judgment?
Geng Shuang, a spokesman for China's foreign ministry, was once again upset when China was accused of the source of the virus. He responded to the condemnation from outside. What China has been saying in recent days is that China always believes this is a scientific issue which requires listening to scientific and professional opinions. To respect the objective facts and international public opinions, it's better to spend time on prevention and control of the epidemic and strengthening cooperation than on attacking and slandering people. While fighting against the outside world, he also tried to watch their own image. Geng Shuang stressed that China is willing to share the successful experience of antivirus with the whole world. In order to help Italy cope with the new coronavirus epidemic, the Chinese government decided to send an anti-epidemic medical expert group to Italy. 9 members of the panel, carrying medical and anti-epidemic materials and equipment, left Shanghai on March the 12th and arrived in Rome. In addition, the Red Cross Society of China has sent medical teams to Iran and Iraq. Geng Shuang also said the Chinese team has won unanimous praise from the local people. Now China is sharing anti-epidemic experience with other countries in the world, which shows China's responsibility as a great power. On China's internet, even spreads an article entitled, "In the global anti-epidemic war, there's a worm called China Aid." Chinese experts bring aid materials, which will save the lives of Italian patients. As China's epidemic slows down, the number of officially confirmed cases is falling. China began as a recipient of foreign mask donations, gradually became an exporter of masks to other countries because of the increase of mask production capacity.
Chinese officials in recent days have highlighted their production capacity of these medical supplies, saying that now on a daily basis they are able to churn out 500,000 protective suits, 1.6 million N95 masks, as well as a whopping 100 million ordinary face masks.
Before the outbreak, 50% of the world's masks were made in China. In addition, 50% of mask manufacturers still import most of their raw materials from China. After the outbreak, more enterprises in China make masks in different fields. The number of masks has increased significantly. This makes the mask become a big chip in China's diplomacy. What's rare is that all the participants are workers participating in China's anti-epidemic war. This exchange of experience is very useful to us. Iran, South Korea, and other major disaster victims have received a large number of mask donations from China. Besides, China's anti-epidemic experience has also become a key indicator for countries around the world to fight against the virus.
What level of symptoms or a particular indices that you would start the medication?
I suppose it is used as firstly in mild and general patients, not in severe patients. And also this patient has shown a positive test of the nasal RNA.
At the professional level, Zhong Nanshan, the authority of Chinese epidemic, shares medical knowledge with other countries. In politics, China's President Xi Jinping telegrammed various heads of state to express concern. President Xi Jinping recently telegrammed South Korean President Moon Jae-in.
Xi Jinping telegrammed Iran's President Rouhani recently to express his sincere condolences.
Whether it's donating materials, sending out medical teams, sharing anti-epidemic experience, or the separation encouragement of the head of state, China completely abandons the negative image of the new coronavirus in the past and is now carrying out mask diplomacy to try to win more glory.